we are really having this interesting problem. The world is much more complex than our brains, which means that we can't foresee the consequences of our technologies.
With one law or one policy, you can reduce the freedoms of millions and even billions of people.
Technologies are working for the benefit of just a few people. So perhaps it's not technology as such, but the way technology is implemented.
In the mid-20th century, from Model T Ford to the moon landings, from nylons and electric guitars to moving pictures and television, technology seemed to offer a faster, more exciting world that provided us with a better life. But now, from resource scarcity to climate change, robots to internet destruction, tomorrow's technological world seems to many as much a threat as a solution. Might technology be making us less happy, less fulfilled, and less motivated? Should we be more skeptical of its value and seek instead to curtail its excesses? Or is technology a miracle of human ingenuity and, when used properly, a constant source of potential and progress? Priyadarshini Karve is one of India's leading educators on the importance of individual responsibility in the fight against climate change. She is known for arguing that true change can come only when individuals take responsibility for their actions and demand better solutions from corporations and policymakers. Director of civil liberties organization Big Brother Watch, Silkie Carlo has spent the past decade fighting to protect the civil rights and privacy of UK citizens. Anders Sandberg is a research fellow at the Future of Humanity Institute at Oxford, where his research concerns the societal and ethical issues surrounding human enhancement and the long-term future of humanity. Might technology be making us less happy, less fulfilled, and less motivated? Priyadarshini, let's start with you.
This is a timeless question. Today we ask this in the context of in information and communication technology, but we could have asked this at the time of the agricultural revolution or industrial revolution. And then as now, the answer would have depended on the context of the respondent. If technology is working for me, then I am going to be happy about it. But if it is exploiting me for the benefit of somebody else, then I am not going to like that much. So today, technology is allowing me to be in this international conversation from my home. But I know that it is also a very risky technology, invasive technology, which can put my security at risk. It's an interesting coincidence that every time we have seen a technological revolution, it has sort of opened up new avenues for human greed to express itself. And we have invariably ended up with a more unequal society. Also, the more greedy we are, we also trigger off more drastic side effects. So as a result of that, we find ourselves today that because of industrial revolution, a number of existential crises are converging on us. So one has to wonder, is it because of technology or is it a problem with human nature? Because humans don't have monopoly over technology. Look at birds' nests or beehives. These technologies, as well as early human technologies, were driven by instincts for survival, for safety, for food security. But modern human technologies seem to be driven by intentions more than instincts. And the intentions more often come from greed and one-upmanship rather than from a desire for universal peace and prosperity. So I believe that is where the problem lies, that we feel dissatisfied because we look around us and see that technologies are working for the benefit of just a few people. So perhaps it's not technology as such, but the way technology is implemented. That's where the problem lies, according to me.
As we asked, might technology be making us less happy, less fulfilled, and less motivated?
Well, thank you ever so much. And this is such an interesting time to have this debate because we're on the precipice of really a new world, thanks to the sheer pace of technological advancement. And what I think is particularly unique about this particular axis in time is that there are new extremities of potential for the direction of our human future. And on the one hand, we have the possibility of greater human empowerment than probably we've ever seen before. On the other hand, we have the potential for more human subjugation and more centralization of power and monopolization of power than we've probably ever seen before. I think the opportunities for empowerment are absolutely huge with our technological advancement, and particularly with the internet. And this is, I think, what the hope of technologists rested on in the 90s, maybe even into the early noughties, where we thought we had this empowering anarchic space where we had disintermediation between citizens and people in positions of power like never before. We have instant knowledge. We have mass communications. And then we started to see uprisings, popular empowerment and movements on an unprecedented scale. But what we've also seen, and this is where the work of Big Brother Watch comes in, is an extreme centralization of power, mass surveillance, mass censorship. And even today, in the policy space in which I work, in the UK, in Big Brother Watch, with one law or one policy, you can reduce the freedoms of millions and even billions of people. And that is what we're now seeing. And that is what is so unique about this point in history. Previously, if a government or someone in a position of authority were to attempt this scale of power grab, they would need to convince hundreds of thousands of human individuals to do their bidding for them, whether it's people collecting information for a census or people to form armies. You don't need that anymore. You need technology. You need software. It could be in the near future robots, lethal autonomous weapons. So with technology, if you can control technologies, you can control and amass extraordinary power. So at this particular point in time, we face one of the greatest battle of ideas in human history, one of the greatest battles of power between the citizenry and states and authorities. And I'm very pleased to be in the middle of it. And I think we all should be, because at this point in time, we're really determining the shape of our human future.
Anders, might technology be making us less happy, less fulfilled, and less motivated?
So I think technology is a very deeply human activity. What sets humans apart is that we have language and we have a cumulative culture. If I invent a better way of handling rocks, you in my tribe will notice that and maybe copy it. And we will deliberately tell our kids about this good way of knapping rocks. And over generations, that means that the rocks are getting better. And this is at first a slow process, but then it gets more and more exponential, especially as we get more food, so we can have larger populations and our brains work better. And at this point, we can get even more food. And before we know it, we have some priests to come up with ways of remembering stuff, since they don't have to work in the fields. And gradually, the human species steamrollers the entire biosphere. For good and ill. We have made a great world in many ways, but we're also messing it up in a lot of ways. And part of that is, of course, that we are probably the dumbest species that can be a technological species. We kind of gradually evolved better and better brains, but once we could do this cumulative technology thing, we took off. But our brains have not gotten that much wiser. We're making use of wisdom we read from good books and hear from other people. So we're certainly helping ourselves to become a little bit better, but we're still not that smart. We are really having this interesting problem that the world is much more complex than our brains, which means that we can't foresee the consequences of our technologies. So on one hand, if I invent something, especially if it's a powerful general purpose technology, it's going to change the world in a lot of ways. But even if I try to invent something for a specific purpose, the side effects might be beyond what I intended. Graham Bell would not have recognized what the phone has turned into. When people were thinking about the internet in the 90s, they couldn't foresee the complicated effects of social media. The inventors of social media couldn't even foresee it. So when we get to technology, does it make us happier and more fulfilled? It depends a lot on how we use it. But it's also very hard to really plan ahead for that. And the unforeseen consequences are often very, very subtle. The side effects of smartphones are enormous in social life, in how we interact with each other, and many people even disagree on what they are.
To continue watching this video, click the link in the top left or in the description below, or visit iai.tv for more debates and talks from the world's leading thinkers on today's biggest ideas.